So we have Billy here. Hey, from Austin, Texas. That's Billy. I don't know when the last time we had a caller from our town.
Yep. I'm here. I'm from Austin. I could drive down there and see you if I wanted to.
Yeah,
awesome.
Why haven't you?
Work, family, 3 kids.
Oh, okay.
It's all good.
I'm just calling. I've heard you say on several occasions that there's no proof of anything that's supernatural, or no evidence of anything that's supernatural, and then I hear.
I'd correct that slightly. I'd correct that slightly. I'd say there's not sufficient evidence to believe, because people will call anecdotal evidence. There's not sufficient evidence to believe that anything supernatural is real, and the very, and this is going to sound strange to say, but the nature of the supernatural appears to be blocked from investigation. We can only investigate the natural world, and until we can demonstrate that the supernatural is real, and that it can affect reality, and that we have a way to detect when it's affecting reality, we can't make any pronouncements about it. It's simply an unfalsifiable, untestable proposition that anything supernatural exists.
So it only exists like on a chalkboard, theoretical physics or whatever. Like, because I hear Lawrence Krauss talking about particles that pop in and out of existence.
Sure, but that's not supernatural.
That sounds supernatural to me.
Well, that's probably because are you a quantum mechanics expert?
Well, it meets the definition of the word supernatural.
No, it doesn't. No.
Yeah.
So supernatural is something that is not a part of nature. But
it's not defined by general relativity and not bound by natural
law.
No.
The word natural versus supernatural, at no point does the theory of general relativity define what is natural versus what is supernatural. Scientific models are tentative explanations based on the best available evidence. If we find out, for example, that Newtonian mechanics is wrong, and it is in some context, what we've discovered is something new, and that's where you get to, general relativity and eventually to quantum mechanics. If quantum mechanics is describing the natural world, and it specifically describes virtual particles, which are actual particles, even though they're called virtual particles, if they're popping into existence, if this is a function of what quantum mechanics predicts, quantum mechanics is not reaching out to something supernatural to make that prediction. It is a model that is making predictions based on the facts of the natural world. So we don't define natural or supernatural based on what we understand right now. We don't say that because this model or this theory defines the world thus and so, that anything else outside of that is supernatural. Because the reality is there are things outside of that model that we're going to discover which are natural and become part of the description of the universe.
Okay. Well, see, there's an atlas detector on the Large Hadron Collider that has basically completely dismissed the supersymmetric model for particle physics. So that leaves no explanation for the mass of the Higgs field besides design.
Okay. So you're now claiming that, and no. You're claiming I'm not a physicist. You just did. Okay. I'm not a physicist, but what you've said is, hey, we've now disproved this, and the only remaining explanation is design. How did you determine that there are no other possible explanations other than design? And how did you determine that design is actually a possible explanation, a viable explanation?
Well, design has to be a viable explanation. There's the appearance of design.
No, it doesn't. You cannot say that this has to be a viable explanation. What if, in fact, there is no God and no design? You can't say that something is a viable explanation unless you have a demonstration that it is probable, that it is likely, that it is possible.
The whole point is to find out what there is and to infer what there could be given whatever evidence you have to work with.
But we explain things in terms of other things that we understand. You don't just get to infer whatever you feel like. How did you rule out universe creating pixies? How did you determine they're not a possible explanation?
Because then how do you know that it was pixies?
I don't know that it was pixies. I'm asking you how you ruled it out to say the only remaining explanation is an intelligent designer. And these pixies, by the way, I'm describing aren't intelligent. They just produce universes.
I don't rule things out. I only rule things in.
No,
you
ruled them out when you said the only remaining explanation is this, and you haven't even demonstrated that that explanation is a possibility.
See, I support front-loaded intelligent design theory, which is not a religion.
It's not science either.
Well, I mean, I would disagree. Like we
You'd be wrong.
Don't you need to demonstrate a designer before you can talk about whether something was designed?
Not necessarily.
No, we don't have to define God or describe God. We can't. We have no evidence of that.
But the thing here is that you can't. If you present an argument that is based on a fallacy, then we cannot say that it's true. And to say that because we've ruled, sorry.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what the fallacy is.
The argument from ignorance. You're saying that, well, actually, in this case, it's the argument from incredulity, that we haven't found another explanation, therefore this is the only one that's left. And there's two problems here. Not only have you ruled out all possible other explanations, which would require you to know everything about the universe, but you've also ruled in an explanation without any way to demonstrate that it's possible.
But there's no evidence that there are any other answers.
There's no evidence right now for you.
You're going on future knowledge that you.
No, you're going on future knowledge. You don't get to say that it's possible there's a God until after it's been demonstrated that it's possible that there's a God.
I can say that it's possible that there's.
Well, you can say it, but saying it doesn't mean that it's true or reasonable. That's the point. I can say it's universe farting pixies.
But how do you know they're farting?
I'm saying, how do you know that they're intelligent? I'm saying that the same justification that you use to say we haven't found an explanation, therefore it must be intelligent design, that same argument is what I'm using to say we haven't found an explanation, therefore it's universe farting pixies.
I mean, but you don't know that they're farting, though. Where's your evidence?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I agree with you. I don't know that they're farting, and my response to you is you don't know that there's an intelligent designer. You pointing out the flaw in my analogy that points out your flaw doesn't make me wrong. It just shows that you're wrong.
Well, see, I only call it God because there's no formal name. Like it could be universe farting pixies.
Okay, then by your admission, the only possible explanation is not just intelligent design because you just said it could be farting pixies.
Well, call it whatever you want.
It's not about what you call it. Intelligence, the word, has a usage.
Intelligent design.
You don't get to say, Billy, that it has to be intelligent design if you simultaneously acknowledge that it could also be farting pixies. Do you not see that?
No. God and farting pixies are the same thing. Okay, they're the same thing.
Okay, and guess what? They're both done on this show. Thanks, Billy. God and farting pixies are the same thing.